All right, let's get started laying down today. We're going to start in Shavasana. Oh, and for props, we'll need if you have a yoga blanket, and if you don't have a yoga blanket, like a beach towel or something like that would work too. And we'll need it at the end of class. You won't really need it for anything else during class today. Be for one of our final poses. So coming onto the back, maybe finding like a gentle stretch, reaching up overhead, pointing the toes, reaching out through the fingers. If you have a Bruchosaurus Rex, maybe he'll help and bite your fingers and stretch you a little bit longer. And let that go, letting your arms come down by your side. And just start to, I want to connect to this moment and start to connect with the body. So let's start with just a scan, noticing any tension in the body. Maybe starting from your feet, traveling up your legs, your hips, your torso, your arms, your chest, your neck, your head. And as you find any sources of tension, see if you can let them go. So if you're maybe, or even if you're just holding on, right? Like maybe you have some activation in your legs or activation in your glutes, your back, your shoulders. See if you can let that go. And if not, that's okay. Just let it be what it is today. And then I'd like to invite you to draw either one or both hands to the heart. So just letting your hand or hands rest gently over your heart space. And start to connect with the natural rise and fall of the breath coming in and out of the body. And then maybe deepening the breath a little bit here. So filling up the lungs a little bit more, maybe expanding into the diaphragm and the belly. And we're gonna set up our Ujjayi breath for practice today. So what do we call this? Our victorious breath. This is finding a slight constriction in the back of the throat. And then breathing in and out through the nose. Creating a whispering sound in the back of the throat. And for those of us joining us, we're just starting out on our back here in Shavasana. Knees can be bent to just finding a comfortable position on the back, setting up our breath, setting up our Ujjayi breath for practice today. And once you've found that whisper sound, setting up a pattern that you'll be able to maintain and keep with you for the duration of class today. So maybe that pattern is a 3-count inhale and a 3-count exhale, or maybe it's a 3-count inhale and a 5-count exhale. But just finding a pattern that works for you and something that can help tether the mind to the body. So that when practice gets challenging or difficult, we can use that breath pattern, we can use that mind-body connection with the breath to ease the mind and ease the heart. Or when the mind starts to wander, using that breath to stay connected to the body. I'll give you a couple more moments to set up that pattern. And we're going to bend the knees and start to walk the feet in about 1 foot to 2 feet in front of the glutes. And you want feet about hips distance. And we're going to do some progressive bridge lifts and lowers. So we're really going to get right into our work today. So allow your arms to come down along your sides. You're going to press firmly into your feet, and hands are flat, palms are flat against the earth. Begin to press firmly into the arms and hands, press into your feet, take an inhale, and we're going to do some progressive lifts. So the first lift, we're only going to come out about 25%, and we're going to hold. So inhale, lift the hips. So your glutes are only going to be off the mat, maybe an inch or two, a couple of inches. Hold here. And on your next exhale, slowly release them down. And then we're going to come up about halfway for this next breath. So on your next inhale, lifting the hips up, pressing firmly into the arms, the hands, the feet. Halfway here. And exhale, release the hips back down to the earth. Coming up about 3/4. So no one's measuring, so it doesn't have to be precise, but inhale, lifting the hips up about 3/4 of the way. So not quite your full expression, but we're getting much closer. So pressing into those feet, pressing into the hands, pressing into the arms. Exhale, release the hips back down to the earth. And last time, now we're coming up into your full expression. Take an inhale, and then exhale, lift those hip points up to the sky, pressing into the arms, pressing into the feet, and then reach your heart up as high as it can go. Option to take your hands and clasp them beneath you, and then kind of hug in your shoulders here. This might help you be able to lift a little bit more out of the heart, reaching up to the sky, still pressing firmly into the feet, pressing the arms. I'm going to hold this for a couple more breaths. This one will be a little bit longer hold. On your next exhale, release your clasp if you've taken it, and slowly allow the hips to come back down to the earth. Heel toe the feet out to the width of the mat, and then allow your knees to knock in toward one another. And let's just pause here for a moment. Checking in with the backside of the body, backside of the legs. Maybe you have a little pug sitting on your belly. So checking in with the front side of the body too. Okay, on your next inhale, draw your knees in toward your chest. And then exhale, release your heels to the sky. So legs to the sky here. Flexing the feet, so heels are reaching up and legs are activated here. So option to take your hands and kind of provide some low back support. So if this feels like a lot of pressure or tension on the low back, you can kind of wiggle your hands underneath your low back, your sacral plate. sacral joint, or you can keep your hands flat down by your side. And so we're going to do some progressive lowers and lifts with our legs today too. So really getting into our core today. So we're going to take an inhale, and then on your exhale, you're going to lower about a quarter of a way. So maybe 25%. Again, no one's measuring, so it doesn't have to be precise. It doesn't have to be perfect. But we want to make sure that the low back, and we're holding, we want to make sure that the low back isn't lifting off of the mat. We want to press that low back into the mat here. Draw the navel into the spine. Breathe. Take another inhale, and then exhale, lowering about halfway. Pressing the low back into the mat. Now, if at any point your low back starts to lift and it's too much work, that's where you're going to stay. So if it's at that 50% point, you're going to stay at the 50%. If it was at the 25, you'll stay at the 25. Breathe. And then on your next exhale, again, keeping that low back pressing into the earth, lowering about 3/4 of the way. Breathe here. Keep the feet flexed. Let's reach out through the heels of the feet today instead of pointed. We're going to flex our feet today. Really firing up our quads, firing up that core. All right, this is where it gets juicy. If your back is still pressed into the mat, we're going to try lowering maybe an inch or two off of the mat. Yeah. Holding here, breathing, use that breath. And we're not going where you want to go. We're going to inhale, exhale, come back up to that 3/4. Yeah. Feel that fired up core. You guys look great. Take another inhale, exhale, come up about halfway. Keeping that low back pressed into the mat. Navel drawing into the spine, really firing up that core. Exhale, come up 3/4 of the way. I'm sorry, your last 25% here. And then exhale, draw the knees into the chest. Maybe wrapping your hands around your knees and bringing your knees in. Rocking from side to side. And we're going to do that one more time without the holds. So I'm going to invite you to use the length of your breath to take you to your furthest point, lowering and lifting. So when you're ready, inhale, reach the heels back to the sky, hands down on by your side or underneath your sacral joint there. And then for the length of your exhale, you're going to lower all the way. Inhale, come back up. Exhale, lower. We're going to do that 4 more times. Inhale, up. Exhale, lower. Inhale, come up. Exhale, lower. I have no idea what number we're on, so we're going to do 2 more. Exhale, lower. Inhale, come back up. Last one, guys. Inhale, exhale, lower. Let's hold this one. Inhale, come all the way back up. Draw the knees into the chest again. Rocking from side to side. Massaging out the low back here. Plant the feet. So they're about a foot or 2 out in front of the glutes. The knees are still bent here. Draw your arms out to the side like a T. Take an inhale. And on your exhale, just easy twists, allowing the legs to fall over to the left. Just kind of getting into the side body, getting into that psoas, right hip flexor, right quad. We're just here for a moment. If you'd like that additional assist, you can cross the left ankle over the right thigh. We just have 1 more round of breath. Inhale, come back to center. And on your exhale, release the knees over to the right. Keeping that left shoulder planted down onto the mat. Again, we're not here long, but if you'd like that additional assist, allowing the right ankle to cross over left. On your next inhale, come back to center, draw the knees into the chest, and then roll over onto your side. Coming into this fetal position and just pausing. So we've spent a lot of time on our back already this morning. So maybe just noticing and appreciating kind of the space that we now have, the air that's now touching the back as opposed to the hard surface of the earth. Just noticing that space behind you now. And when you're ready, I'm going to push all the way up, and we're just going to be in a child's pose. So I'm going to invite you to have knees wide for this child's pose. So knees wide, hips come all the way back, resting on top of the heels, belly and torso come in hammock between the legs, between your thighs. Arms are stretched out long in front of you, and your forehead is reaching down to the earth, maybe resting on the earth. And just pause. Again, noticing the backside of the body here. Maybe sending some breath to the belly with all of the fun core work that we just did. And don't worry, that's not the end of core. We have lots of fun stuff planned for today. So just as a reminder, this is your child's pose. This is your wisdom pose. This is the pose that you're going to come back to if at any time in your practice you lose your breath, you need to come back and reset. You're feeling frazzled, frustrated, or just need to reconnect with your breath and reconnect with your body. You're going to come back to this pose. If at any time something comes up for you during practice that you'd like to explore further, this is a great pose for you to do that in. It's our self-reflective forward folding pose. And when you're ready, go ahead and tuck your toes, press into your hands, and we're going to lift our hips all the way up, coming into a downward facing dog. So this is our first down dog. If you have a down dog ritual that you like, I invite you to go ahead and give your body that down dog love. Pedaling out your feet, maybe finding some hip shifts from side to side. It's kind of a free, just organic movement, like really checking in with, what your body is calling for here. Maybe shifting forward and back from plank to down dog. Maybe rounding and rolling the spine. We're just waking up the spine. We're getting the blood circulating, making up the joints. Go ahead and find some stillness and just checking in with our alignment in this posture. So hands are about shoulder distance apart, and the index finger is pointing toward the top of the mat. And we're pressing firmly into all 10 fingers. Finding a slight bend in the elbow, lifting out of the shoulder so there's space in the armpits, and then wrapping the triceps underneath the arms. Drawing the navel in, low ribs are knitted in, and hips are reaching up toward the sky. Finding a slight bend in the knees, and then feet are about hips distance apart here. Heels are reaching toward the earth, and then maybe lift all 10 toes off of the mat and release them back down onto the earth. Breathe here. Bend the knees, gaze forward. We're going to walk, step, or jump to the top of the mat, meeting in a forward fold. Inhale, slowly rise up, coming up one vertebrae at a time, meeting in mountain pose. Hands come down to your sides and pause here. Maybe close the eyes or find a soft gaze out in front of you. Inhale, sit back, chair pose, arms come up, reaching to the sky, sitting back, knees are behind toes. Drawing that navel up and in, low ribs knitted in. Shoulders are sliding down the back, dripping away from your ears. Option to keep your hands at heart center here. Sink a little deeper in your chair if that feels good. Maybe it feels bad and you should do it anyway. Or it feels challenging. Take another inhale and then exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands, step back, plank pose. Inhale, shift the hips back, downward facing dog. Bend the knees, gaze forward. Exhale, walk, step or jump to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, chair pose again. Draw hands to heart center here. And then start to shift your weight into your right foot, getting lighter on the left foot. And if you can, kick your left heel into your left glute. And then we're going to step all the way back, staying high on the ball of the left foot, coming into our high crescent pose. Checking in with alignment, both femur bones, both thigh bones are plugging into the pelvis, into our hip sockets. So we're kind of have this spiraling action. Both hip points are faced toward the top of the mat, shoulders stacked over hips. If this feels like a good challenge for you and you want to stay here, if you have any sensitivity in the knees, I caution you and just go as far as feels good in your body. We're going to do what I fondly refer to as Corey crescent lunges. So really being active in that back left leg, what we're going to imagine is if there's like this big, giant, solid block of butter that's just beneath our knee, and we're pressing that knee into that block of butter. We're melting that butter. We're pressing that butter into the earth. So there's a really strong activation. It's a slow move. And when you get about an inch off the earth, pause. Holding this Corey crescent lunge. Named after one of my favorite teachers. Her name's Corey. She loves these. Okay, and then reversing that, going as slow as we can, as if there's now like a bunch of dough or butter that we have to come back up through. Staying high on the ball of that back foot. Beautiful. Pausing when you get to crescent. Inhale, reach the hands to the sky. Exhale, plant the hands, step back, high plank pose. Release your forearms to the earth, coming into forearm plank. So hips are still about shoulder distance and shoulders are stacked over elbows here. Palms are pressed into the earth. Option to come onto your knees here, or keeping the knees lifted, we're going to do some shoulder taps. So take an inhale, exhale, draw the right knee to right tricep. Step back, left knee, left tricep. Step back, right knee, right tricep. So with your own breath, I'm going to have you guys do this for some time. Using the power and strength of your core. Using the power and strength of your breath to guide this movement. One more time, both sides. Meeting in forearm plank. Take an inhale, exhale, release it all to the earth. All the way down to the earth. Release your feet, tops of your feet, press into the earth. Hands come down by your ribs. And then inhale, reaching your heart forward, cobra pose. Pressing the tops of the feet into the mat, pressing your pubic bone into the mat. Exhale, pushing up through a strong plank. Let's meet in downward facing dog. Inhale, bend the knees, gaze forward. Walk, step, or jump to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, chair pose. Sink those hips back. Hands come to heart center. Begin to shift the weight into your left foot, getting light on the right foot. And then stepping back, coming into our high crescent lunge on the left, with the left foot front. Checking in with the alignment again, making sure that our femur bones are plugged in. We've got kind of the spiraling action. Hip points are pointed toward the top of the mat. shoulders stacked over hips. Option to stay here or begin those Cori crescent lunges. So starting again, imagining that you're pressing that knee, you're pressing that leg through this really hard stick of butter. And then stopping about an inch or two off of the earth. Pause. Breathe. And then coming back up, very slow. Really, and when you get back to your high crescent, really lifting that back right thigh to the sky, staying active and strong here. Inhale, reach your hands to the sky. Exhale, plant your hands, step the left foot back to meet the right, releasing down onto the forearms, and we'll do those shoulder taps one more time. So again, you can do this with your knees on the earth, or you can do them lifted. And on your own breath, right knee, right tricep, left knee, left tricep, right knee, right tricep, but following your own breath. Stay lifted out of the shoulders, no sinking into the shoulders, no dumping here. You're strong. One more round each side. Release all of it to the earth. Release your forehead to the earth, top of the feet, press into the earth. Hands come down to your ribs. Inhale, reach your heart forward. Kiss a hug. Exhale, push up through a strong plank, meeting in downward facing dog. Release your knees to the earth. Come into a child's pose. I really want to invite you today to take advantage. I've planned in a few child's poses, and I really would like to invite you to check in and pause, truly pause, and linger in this pose for as long as you need today. So maybe you're tired of my fired up antics already, and you want to stay in child's pose for the rest of the class. But I'm going to give you a couple of moments and a few rounds of breath here to just check in with you. And if you're ready, go ahead and tuck those toes. Shift your hips back, downward facing dog. Inhale, reach the right heel to the sky. Bend the knee, open the hip. And before you do any type of movement, just check in. Just see if any of your weight has shifted into one shoulder or the other, and see if you can even out that weight distribution. Pointing the knee to the sky, and then go ahead and start circling out that hip. So finding some hip circles, rotating the knee around that hip joint. Just again, waking up that hip socket, waking up the joint, getting the synovial fluids moving. Switch directions. If you took one direction, inhale, reach the right heel to the sky. Exhale, step all the way through. Start to stay high on the ball of the left foot. Plant down firmly into the right. Inhale, rise up, crescent pose. Go ahead and draw your hands into heart center. Find that spiraling. Spine is long here. Reach out through the crown of the head. So we're not looking so much for a back bend in this variation of crescent. So let's stay tall and proud here. Lift that left thigh to the sky a little bit more. Breathe. Sink a little deeper into that right knee. And then if you like, you can come into this. We're going to meet in figure 4 chair. So if you would like to come down to that crescent, that Cori crescent lunge, it might be easier to get a little bit of momentum. If you want to make this a slower, more controlled movement, you can do it from this high crescent, or you can even just come in from a traditional chair and come in
to figure 4 from there. So I'm gonna demonstrate from the Corey crescent lunge. So from here, lowering the knee to the earth, and then coming up, crossing the left ankle over right thigh, and sinking the hips back. My left foot is flexed and active. And then actively trying to press with your legs, the left knee down toward the earth. And if you can, sink a little deeper into your hips. The dogs are so fired up this morning too. Spine is long, draw your navel into your belly, into your spine here. I know that right leg is cooking. Take another inhale, exhale, release it all. Come up to mountain pose, shake out those legs. Inhale, reach your hands to the sky. Exhale with a slight bend in the knees, coming into your forward fold. Let's hold this forward fold for just a couple of breaths. So if you'd like to make this a rag doll and clasping opposite elbows, you can hold on to opposite elbows, release the crown of the head to the earth. Let that head be heavy. Maybe find a little spinal traction, but really tilt if you can, tilting your hip bones, your sit bones up to the sky. Keeping a slight bend in the knee if that feels good, or even a deep bend in the knee. Torso meets thigh, torso resting in your thighs here. Other option is to have your hands rested on the earth, just making sure that your shoulders are sliding down your back, away from your ears. Breathe. We meet ourselves in these forward folds. We meet ourselves for opportunity to check in. What is happening in my body? And if you took that a ragdoll arm clasp variation, you can release the hands to the earth. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step back, high plank pose. Releasing down onto the forearms, holding forearm plank. So if you liked those, well, I don't know if anyone liked them, maybe just me. If you liked those shoulder taps from forearm plank, you're welcome to take those shoulder taps. Otherwise, we're just gonna be holding this plank for a few rounds of breath. Really draw the navel up into the spine. So no matter which variation you're taking, even if it's knees to the earth, your core is still strong and active here. Hips are about shoulder height, and we're lifting out of the shoulders, pressing into the forearms. We're strong here, like a plank. Thighs are reaching to the sky if you're just holding. If you're doing those shoulder taps, do one more round on each side. And then exhale, release everything down to the earth, coming into Sphinx pose. So shoulders are stacked over elbows here. Hands are still pressed down onto the earth, pressing the pubic bone and the tops of the feet into the earth, and then reaching the heart forward. Trying to find an equal part flexion in the spine. So we're not dumping everything in the low back. The upper back is bending too. Our thoracic spine is involved too. So trying to find an equal arch. Breathe. The head is an extension of the spine. So reaching energetically out through the crown of the head toward the top of your room. Take another inhale. Exhale, we're going to shift and all the way back, child's pose. It might feel nice to have knees together and toes tucked here. And we've done a lot on the shoulders already too, so you might want to explore shoulders along your sides, maybe clasping onto those heels. This is your child's pose. Check in. What's happening in the body? And when you're ready, tuck the toes, lift the hips, downward facing dog. We've got another side to do. Inhale, lift the left foot to the sky, bend the knee, Open the hip. And then checking in to see if you've redistributed that weight. So seeing if we can even out the weight between your two shoulders. And then when you're ready, go ahead and circle that left knee around the hip socket, waking up that joint. Switching directions. Inhale, reach the left heel to the sky. Exhale, step it all the way through, staying high on the ball of the back foot, firming into the left foot. Inhale, rise up, crescent pose. Checking in with our alignment. Hands come to heart center here. Spiraling, finding that energy, spiraling up. So our legs are in these opposing directions, creating this spiraling energy coming up through the spine and then reaching out through the crown of the head. Lifting out of that right thigh, right back of the right thigh, lifting to the sky, maybe bending a little bit deeper into the left knee. Pause here. And then we're going into that figure four chair. So again, maybe you do something different on this side. Maybe what you need on this side is a little bit different. If you enjoyed that Corey crescent lunge and using that as momentum to come up, or if you wanted that slower variation from crescent, or again, just stepping up from mountain, coming into your figure four chair from there. So on your next exhale, release the knee down, coming into that Corey crescent lunge if you're taking this variation. And then stepping forward, crossing right ankle over left knee, sinking the hips back, flexing the right foot, and then drawing that right knee down toward the earth. It's just an energetic reaching of that knee. Really getting into our glutes here, to our hips. You can maybe sink a little deeper into that hip. Breathe. I know that left leg is on fire. Send your breath to that left leg. Send your focus to that left leg. One more round of breath. Take an inhale. And then on your exhale, slowly rise up. Release the crossing of that right leg. Mountain pose. Maybe wiggle out those legs first. Mountain pose. Hands come down by the sides. Close your eyes. Lift the edges of your mouth to the sky. Find a smile. Inhale, reach your hands to the sky. Exhale, slight bend in the knees, hinging forward at the hips, coming into that forward fold. And we're going to pause and hold here too for a couple of moments. So if you like that arm clasp variation or the elbow clasp variation for ragdoll, if you want to try clasping behind your back, so clasping hands, allowing your hands to start lifting up and overhead, but just making sure that your shoulders are sliding down your back here and your head, the crown of the head is reaching down toward the earth. We don't want slumping in our shoulders. We want this to be active here, pulling, breathing. Release the hands to the earth if you took any type of hand clasp variation. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands, step back, high plank pose. Releasing onto the forearms, coming into forearm plank once again. Option again, holding plank, holding this forearm plank, or doing those shoulder taps. Whichever variation you're doing, the body is strong. So again, thinking like a plank, you're strong, you're unshakable, you can't be moved. And hold here. Or knee tap. And breathe. Release it all to the earth and coming into our Sphinx pose once again. So shoulders stacked, ollie move. Shoulders stacked over elbows. Top of your feet are pressing into the earth, pelvic bone into the earth here. And then reaching the heart forward. Equal part flexion in the spine. The crown of the head reaching toward the sky. Pressing into the hands, pressing into the arms. So lifting, lifting. And then on your next exhale, shift all the way back, child's pose. Go ahead. When you're ready, tuck the toes, lift the hips up and back, downward facing dog. Last wave, and then we get into our cool down. We just have a little bit of work left. They'll go by fast. Inhale, bend the knees, gaze forward. Exhale, walk, step, or jump to the top of the mat, meeting in forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sit back, chair pose. Reach your hands to the sky. And really sink into those hips here. So if you can get a little bit lower, sink a little bit lower, but keeping the integrity of the knees. We want to protect this knee joint. So drawing the knees behind the toes. So you want to be able to see your toes here. Your navel drawing into the spine. Spine is long. You can keep your arms reaching or hands can come to heart center. Begin to shift the weight into your right foot, getting light on the left. Exhale, step all the way back, meeting in high crescent pose. Inhale, reach your hands to the sky. We haven't done too many big back bends or a whole lot of heart openers or back bends today, but if you'd like to cactus the arms and reach the heart forward, or if you took that hand clasp earlier, you can do that here too. So just reaching that heart forward. Sink a little deeper into that right knee. Inhale, reach the hands to the sky. Exhale, plant the hands, step back, high plank pose. Inhale, shift back, bear pose. So think like a lifted, hovering child's pose. So knees are hovering off of the earth, arms are off of the earth, pressing firmly into your hands. We're not going where you want to go. Release the forearms to the earth and shift the hips up, coming into dolphin pose. Draw the navel in toward the spine. So if this feels like a lot in your shoulders, you can even walk your feet back or even coming into that forearm plank variation. If you would like to walk your dolphin in, walking your feet in a little bit closer to your elbows. And then if you feel like you still have space to work here, inhale, reaching the right heel to the sky. Single leg dolphin. Breathe. Making sure not to sink into your forearms, really lifting out of the forearms, pressing your arms into the earth. Press your hands, your forearms into the earth. Lifting out of your shoulders. Strong. Release the knees to the earth. Come back, child's pose. You guys are strong, badass warriors today. We have one last side. I'm gonna give you one last moment to pause. I really wanna invite you, this is the last child pose for class. Actually, we have one more, but I want you to pause here. And if you're ready to come out, tuck those toes, lift those hips, downward facing dog. Bend the knees, gaze forward. Walk, step, or jump to the top of the mat, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, chair pose, hips come back, hands to the sky, knees behind toes, sinking a little deeper, navel into the spine, growing out tall through the spine, reaching out through the crown of the head. Option to bring your hands to heart center. Begin to shift the weight into your left foot, get light on the get light on the right foot, step all the way back, high crescent pose. Taking that back bend variation if you like. So cactusing the arms, maybe finding that awkward hand clasp if that's what you took on the other side. So taking the awkward grip this time, allowing the shoulders to reach down, slide down the back, reaching the heart forward. Breathe. The last bit of work. Inhale, reach your hands to the sky if they're not already. Exhale, plant your hands, step back, high plank pose. Take an inhale. Exhale, shift back, bear pose. Guys, my quads are on fire. I don't know about yours, but we're gonna hover here, hold. Release the forearms to the earth, hips to the sky, dolphin pose. Pressing into those hands, taking the variation that you like. Stepping out if you need to step out. Step in if you'd like to step in. And the other option of reaching the left heel to the sky. Breathe. Lift out of those shoulders, press into those forearms, press into your hands. One more round of breath. And your exhale, release your knees to the earth. Child's pose. Release the forehead to the earth. I invite you to allow your arms to come along your sides here, really resting the shoulders, allowing them to be heavy, gripping down toward the earth, maybe clasping the heels in your hands. When you're ready, we're going to meet in tabletop. Shoulders stacked over wrists, knees below hips, about hips distance apart. We're going to draw the right knee up toward the right wrist. And then left foot, this all just depends on your body, but making sure that you don't feel any pain or tweaking or anything like that in your right knee. So that might mean that your right foot is going to be closer to your groin, or if it feels better for you to have your shin more parallel to the mat at a 90-degree angle, if that feels better in your body, but we're protecting our knee here. So taking whatever variation feels good to you, we're coming into pigeon. So scooching that left foot back, sinking into our hips here. We're going to stay tall for just a breath, for one breath. Looking back, making sure that that left leg is coming out straight behind the left glute. So we're not splayed out or slated, coming in, angling in. And then if this feels good, you stay here. If you would like to release down, coming a little bit closer to the earth, allowing your belly to rest closer to your to the mat, coming onto forearms. Once you've checked in with the body here, you can either stay here or you can release all the way down, or at any degree or any variation that feels good. Forehead to palms, maybe stacking fists, forehead to on top of your fists. And breathe. If you went all the way down, start to come back up. While meeting in the first version of our pigeon, maybe stepping that left foot in a little bit more, activating into that left foot, and then whatever counter stretch feels good to you. So if that's a three-legged dog, or maybe it's just a down dog, or maybe it's a child's pose, but taking some type of counter movement before we get into the left side. When you're ready, meeting into tabletop and switching sides. So drawing the left knee in toward the left wrist, taking that foot version that feels good to you, protecting that knee, stepping that right foot back, sinking into the hips, allowing the top of the right foot to press into the earth, and then just looking over that right shoulder, making sure that the right leg is straight out behind the right glute. Breathe here, one round of breath. And then decide if you'd like to lower down onto your forearms. And if you'd like to lower even further, getting closer to the earth, you can do that now. So maybe stacking palms again. And breathing. Still staying connected to the breath. If you lower to the earth, go ahead and start to come back up, coming onto forearms. And then meeting in our first variation of the pose. Tucking the toes. And then again, taking whatever counter stretch that might feel good. So if that's a down dog, if that's three-legged dog, child's pose, just some kind of counter movement to recirculate the blood and counter the pressure in the joints in the body. And then we're going to meet on our back. And I'm going to check time, see how we're doing on time. Okay, perfect. If you have that blanket or towel nearby, go ahead and grab that. And we're actually going to, no, Ollie, no. Ollie thinks all blankets are for him. We're going to take a supported Supta Baddha Konasana, supported butterfly pose. So you're going to take your blanket and you're going to roll kind of like a taquito here. And so this is the last pose for today. So any other props that you have nearby for Shavasana that you would like to use, have those nearby. And then from your back, go ahead and walk your feet in, bend your knees, and you're going to take your blanket and you're going to wrap it around your ankles and kind of tuck it in and support your ankles and your feet, laying back, and then allowing the knees to splay open. Hands can come down by your side. You can have one hand on your belly, one hand on your heart. And just stay connected here to the breath. I invite you to start bringing in, drawing in some gratitude for your amazing body and the things that it did for you this morning, working hard, staying fired up, and any of these variations. So this is, all of our bodies are different. And so the work and effort for each of us looks different. So if you took a variation and that was your fullest expression of that pose, and you used your wisdom today, that's what this practice is about. And finding gratitude for that. Now, if this feels good and you want to stay here, we're going to start to shift into Shavasana. If you would like to take a happy baby, or if you'd like to draw the knees into the chest and roll out your low back, or stay just as you are, or take a traditional Shavasana, you may be even using the blanket to rest beneath the knees and prop up underneath the knees. That might feel really good on the low back. So I'll give you a couple of moments to get set up in your Shavasana of choice. Just gonna check and see how you guys are doing, how you're getting settled. Looks like everyone is good. And let's take one final cleansing breath together. So releasing any air that's currently in the lungs. And then fill up the lungs all the way to the top. Open mouth, exhale, let it go. Shavasana. So that was a relatively short Shavasana for all the work that you guys put in today. So I invite you to stay just as you are. If you would like to stay here for our morning metta, our loving kindness affirmations. If you are ready to get moving and would like to come up to seat and join me for our morning metta, you are welcome to do that now, or just staying just as you are. And wherever you're at, whatever posture you're taking, let's take our right hand and place it over our heart. And then our left hand, let's place it right on the belly, right below the belly button. And I'm going to read 3 affirmations to you. And I'm going to repeat each of them 3 times, but I'll go through all 3 of them in a cycle. And I'll give pause in between each one for you to have an opportunity to either say them aloud or to say them to yourselves. So our first affirmation today is, my vibration is love. I am grateful for the love that is around me. My heart is always open to love. I'm going to repeat each of those 2 more times. My vibration is love. I am grateful for the love that is around me. My heart is always open to love. Okay, one more time. My vibration is love. I am grateful for the love that is around me. My heart is always open to love. You can release your hands, you can keep them there, or if you'd like to finish with your hands at heart center and Anjali Mudra. I continue to be so honored to meet with you all and share this practice with you. And I'm truly grateful for the light that you each share and shine into my life. And I thank you for allowing me to share my gifts and my thoughts and my light with you. The light in me sees and honors the light in each of you. Namaste.